All right, listen up. You want to know why I'm rocking barbell apparel? Simple. It's built for athletes like you and me. Have you ever tried squeezing into those regular clothes? It's not happening, right? Barbell has got that perfect fit for guys who actually hit the gym. It's comfortable, it's stylish, and it shows off the work that you put in. Whether I'm training or I'm heading out, Barbell is always on point. Now here's the kicker. Barbell's annual hoodie sale is on. Spend over $99 and they will throw in a free athletic fit performance hoodie. Yeah, you heard me. Free. We're talking 7 brand new hoodie designs. You can stack these deals too. Spend more, get more hoodies. You want 1, you want 5? Go for it. But here's the thing. These designs sell out every single year. So if you wait, you will miss out. Limited time, limited stock. So stop wasting time and go hit up Barbell Apparel. Get your gear. Get your free hoodie and look like a champ. Barbell Apparel. Built for athletes, built for you. Go to barbellapparel.com or just click on the link below. Let me take you guys down an interesting road, and that road is Fighter of the Year. That is when our industry gets together for the World MMA Awards. That is the big one. Do you guys watch music award shows? Do you watch that? They'll have all sorts of stuff, but the final one of the night is simply called Entertainer of the Year. And whoever wins Entertainer of the Year, that's the big one, right? That's the all-around, to put it into a gymnastics term for you. And when you talk about Fighter of the Year, it sure looked as though that was locked up by a man named Alex Pereira. But that's being greatly called into question now by a man named Ilia Topuria. And who would you give it to? Now, be real careful. Recency bias, boy, that's a real thing. But the attitude of Pereira has taken him a long way. Pereira's stardom and the goodwill that he's got, not just with you, the audience, but even within the organization UFC itself, does come largely from an attitude that he will fight anybody at any time. And should it arise that he doesn't feel good at the time of a fight that he's already said he will do, he will go out and do it anyway. That'll take you a long way. We just don't know that Topuria doesn't have that same thing. He just wasn't put in the position. I'm talking about Topuria. And if you were to talk about great wins, I went back, guys, before I talked to you today, featherweight. I looked at who's the number 8 guy at featherweight. And the comparison I was planning to make for you guys is, because that's what Pereira just did. As amazing as he looked, he went and fought the number 8 guy in Roundtree. So what would happen if Ilia did that? And wouldn't you know, the number 8 guy is Josh Emmett. And we saw them fight. And it was a very brutal and a very dominant contest. And it looked like 2 guys that should not be that close to each other in the rankings. It looked like there was some discrepancy, which now we know, as Topuria being the best fighter in the world, there was. So if you look at it from that perspective, both of them have 2 wins. Both of those wins came by way of stoppage. Both of them dealt with very tough guys, and there was some back and forth. But Topuria, to his credit in this, did have the absolute best guys, which, by the way, is really the closing of a chapter. Jon Anik, I'm going to take this thought from him, credit to Jon, who influenced what I'm about to tell you, but Jon said this right to Daniel Cormier, said, Daniel, let's just use a different weight class, because Topuria wasn't overly well known. I can relate to that. The day I looked him up, my partner Ryan's telling me how to spell his name so I can type it in, because I want to see the real name of Mr. Hand Sanitizer. That wasn't that long ago. And I did not know how to spell Ilia or Topuria, let alone to pronounce them, right? It's one of these things of how far he came and how fast he came there. But so did Pereira. Pereira wasn't well known. Pereira was a little bit older. When he came over into the sport, we thought this is an experiment that we've tested all the way back to 1993 with a striker coming over, and he's not going to go and do all that well. So it was a really big surprise, wasn't it? And he took out some top guys. But Jon Anik had told Daniel Cormier that if Pereira had come in at the time when Jon Jones and Daniel had separated themselves from the field, everybody knew the 2 best guys, and then you have the rest of the field. if Pereira would have come in and back-to-back knocked out Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. He effectively would have closed the book. It would have ended. He took out an era. He took out the right guys. He took them out easily. And Jon Anik was just suggesting for Daniel that you look at Ilia Topuria to have done the exact same thing. Except instead of it being mythically and figurative speaking, stopping Volkanovski and stopping Max ends an entire era of discussion. The chapter is now over. And I think that is really powerful. I think there's a massive compliment within that analogy. And there's a massive analysis within that explanation. We have a lot of divisions where we rank these guys, but we all know, standing back, whoever gets the opportunity out of those top 10 names that we put up there, whoever gets the opportunity could win the belt on any given night. At 145, there was a very clear gap. They had fought everybody. Everybody had been given their chance. It had been so long. Some guys even left the division. Some guys are talking about leaving the division. But between Volkanovski and the house that he cleaned and the way he did it, I don't think you guys could even, off the top of your head, tell me rounds that Volkanovski had lost. I know in Volk's last fight with Max, he did not lose any rounds. I don't think you have a whole lot of rounds that you could tell me that Max lost. Like, these guys had really separated themselves. And that's also what Daniel and Jon had done. And had Pereira come in and got them, it would have ended the era. But that's not what's happening with Topuria. We are not ending an era. He does not have these guys in his rear view. He does not get to talk about Fighter of the Year and how exciting this was and when he closed the book and then these guys and they've got to climb back and how are they going to do that? Are they going to face each other? Max has already solved this problem. I don't know if you guys heard this. Max is not going back to 145 pounds. That is official. Max has left the division. Did you guys know that? I might have just broke news for you. Volk, on the other hand, who looked great at 55, who was wildly competitive at 155, is coming to 145 and has been told that he, in fact, is going to get the title shot. He was told this before this fight even happened. We believe him, of course. Not only does Volk always tell us the truth, but he was sitting cage side so he could jump in the ring and do a face-off. And by the way, that wasn't guaranteed to be against Ilia Topuria. That could have been against Max. I don't know what your guys' appetite is to see Volk and Topuria again. But I have a pretty good idea what your appetite is to see Volk versus Max again. And I think if you were to juxtapose that comparison against somebody new like Diego Lopez, you would quickly jump on Diego Lopez. But my entire premise to you, that Topuria has shut the book on that era, is not true if he is given Volk next. It's also not true if you believe he should be given Volk next. And then you got to think about one step further, guys. What if Volk beats him? What if Volk wins? What do we do then? At least we won't have to revisit the idea of Volk versus Max for the 1,000th time because Max has maturely and responsibly taken himself out of the division. But what happens then? You just run him back against Topuria? In an effort to rebuild what once was an undefeated start, to build him back to stardom, you give him that match again? And it's just one of these strange spots where we would be chasing our tail immensely, or we just don't book the fight, which isn't to say that Volk can't work himself back into it. But it was one of the high spots of the entire evening when Volkanovski went in there. He was not called for it. Somehow Volk got access to the stairs. Did you guys see this shot, this camera shot? So there's there's Ilia Topuria, and he's having his moment. His family's there, and they all look beautiful. And then there's Volkanovski at the stairs. So they ask him, they tee it up for this organic moment, and they ask Topuria between Lopez and Volk, who clearly one of them are next. Which one is it? And Topuria starts working. He says, I want to fight them both, to be honest. And he looks over and he sees that Volk is there. And Topuria wasn't trying to create controversy. He was just the opposite. He was trying to celebrate and have a relief from controversy. And Volk comes up. And I believe that and that alone is going to get Volk the title shot. had Diego Lopez understood what was happening or what time it was, or had somebody with him that could speak English and tell him, get up there. Get up there and get in front of Volk. Don't give him this camera shot because it can't be run wound. And I won't be a hater on that fight. And that gets booked and announced. I won't even tell you that Volk doesn't have a shot. That's not my message now. But we do have to face with, well, what do we do with Lopez? And do we want to take those kinds of risks? If that's the guy that's supposed to be in there anyway.